have cameras on if possible for our commissioners. And I'm kind of stalling a little bit, trying to buy a little time of if we have anyone watching from now. Christina, we would know if somebody's watching from home, right? Because their name would be here.
Yes. Yes, they
Okay.
can't just watch from home. They have to click
Register.
on. Yeah,
Okay.
but there currently is not anybody on.
Because I see a couple of names I'm not familiar with, but I will welcome them anyway to our meeting. And of course, with us this evening, we have Bart Logue, our OPO ombudsman. Luvime Omana, she is our assistant, no, actually deputy ombudsman. Christina Cody, administrative specialist. David Bingaman, our OPOC legal counsel. Commissioners, beginning with myself, Ladd Smith, current chair, Jenny Rose, vice chair. And I'd like to make a special welcome to Lily Navarrete. My apologies if I am butchering your last name. I will try to do better. But I would like to personally welcome you to our commission. Really glad to have you with us. And typically we would have 5 commissioners with us at this time. I still hold out hope that we'll have the other 2 as well. And I think I will just, Lily, if you don't mind making another introduction. And I suppose you've met most of us here. I really haven't, but maybe share a few words about yourself. And again, I'd like to welcome you to the commission.
Thank you very much. My honor, and I'm just happy to have been picked to be part of this important commission. I am currently the Director of Public Affairs and Rights, Planned Parenthood of Greater Washington, and I'm also the current Commissioner of Affairs for the Spokane County.
Commissioner Navarrete, unfortunately, you're coming across in a choppy way, and I don't know whether it's from your end or is it from our end, Christina. Am I the only one hearing that, or is it? Okay, so I don't know, Commissioner, if there's something that you can adjust or change, because what you're saying is not coming across completely.
It's probably my internet connection. Can you hear me?
Now I can, yes.
Okay, weird. I was saying that I am the Director of Public Affairs and Rights, Planned Parenthood of Greater Washington and North Idaho. I'm also the current Commissioner on Hispanic Affairs for the state of Washington. And Spokane County is one of my counties that I serve. Also the Director of Social Justice for the Hispanic Business Professional Association. I've lived in Spokane for 30 years with my family. We immigrated from Mexico City, so it's our second home. And just so happy and honored to have been or to be part of this commission.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Really interesting background, and I undoubtedly you will have great contributions to our work on the commission. And one last time, again, welcome to the commission. And we have James for a moment. Looks like he's away from his chair for the moment. Hopefully, will return soon. And hold on just for a second here. Okay. We need, hopefully you've had a chance to look at this evening's agenda. And is there anything that needs to be changed or added at this point? If not, I would welcome a motion to approve the minutes. I'm sorry, the agenda for this evening. Everybody is muted.
I so move the agenda for tonight.
Okay. And do I hear a second out there?
I second it.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving this evening's agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, thank you. And I don't think there were any opposed. Good evening, Commissioner Jasmine. Thank you for being with us tonight. Good to see you as always. And it's official. We have a full commission of 5 commissioners. Woohoo! That is good news. Our next agenda item is the approval for the January 19th minutes. Christina Cody, she sent the minutes out quite a ways back last week, and hopefully you've had a chance to look at those minutes and again would welcome a motion to approve those January 19th minutes.
So move. That's
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
I-
And do I have a
I
second out
second.
there? Okay, thank you. Okay, we all those in favor of approving the minutes from January 19th, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I think I heard one aye.
We got some people on mute.
Aye.
I heard 2.
Do I revote? Or,
No, so you
Okay.
put the motion out,
right.
Commissioner Jasmine, and I think I heard Jenny Rose, Commissioner Rose seconded. Do I need to hear from everybody, or can I?
Aye. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
now I can. Yep. Okay, so we've got everybody approving it, including myself, and now I understand we're now into the items of the agenda. We have a guest speaker who's not with us at the moment, but I'm sure in the next few we'll have Council President Brian Beggs speaking to us this evening, and we'll go ahead and move on to item number 2. Is that something I need to get approval for, or can I go ahead and put item number 1 on hold for now? I would welcome any help on that question.
I think you can go ahead with
Okay,
the agenda, knowing that we'll go back to number 1. Correct, David?
Yeah, I would do that.
okay, and Christina, do we have anybody for public forum?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Mr. Logue, monthly report. Are you okay? Oh, wait, we've got Mr. Council President Brian Beggs is with us. And good evening, sir. How are you today? Good.
I'm
okay.
great. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
You came at just the right time, sir, and thank you for being with us this evening. We have a full commission this evening, 5 commissioners. We've just welcomed Commissioner Lilian Navarrete as our most recent addition. So thank you for being here, Mr. Beggs, and I'll let you continue or proceed.
All right. Well, thanks for creating some space for me to report. And I just wanted to give you all an update on the Police Guild contract. You might have seen a bit of a press conference that the administration and the Police Guild have reached what we call a tentative agreement, which means the leadership of the city and the guild and the lawyers for both have agreed on language, both as to compensation for the last 4 years and this year, and also probably most interesting to your group, some changes to the civilian oversight provisions in the contract. And so I wanted to just share a little bit about that. And the first thing I want to share is that we would never have gotten to this point but for a lot of community members expressing their views, But really what made the difference at the end was we had some great conversations. The mayor invited me, and the guild agreed that we could just sit down, and literally we met for hours and hours over several times and try to understand better where everyone was coming from. And I was trying to convey what the community wanted when they passed Proposition 1 and put some provisions in the charter. And the guild members were trying to convey how independent oversight could impact their jobs and their livelihoods and their reputations. And we basically dug really deep and listened to each other. And as a result, after, I want to say, 13 years of discussing this between the city and the police guild, we made some significant progress. And I don't know if the tentative agreement is up yet on the website of the city. It's supposed to be up any day. So apologies if it's not up, so that you could review it and go into it. But I just wanted to emphasize a few generalities about it. We were focusing on really about 4 different things. Probably the most important in my mind were closing reports. And again, in our charter that the 69% of community voters approved, the OPO and the OPOC are authorized to publish closing reports after all discipline is over. So they can't impact discipline. It can't even talk about discipline. But the idea for community members was that the ombuds office could just say this is what they think happened. Not that they're the judge or the jury or anything else, but just a viewpoint. And the police guild had some real concerns about that, worried that it might get them on a Brady list, worried that it might impact discipline on them in the future, worried that the process just might not be fair, or that the city was putting their stamp on the judgment of perceptions of the ombuds office. But we worked through all those things. And so in this agreement, when you get a chance to read it, you will see for the first time, there's really express authorization for the ombuds to release a report about his or her thoughts about what happened. And also recommendations about how harm could be prevented in the future. Again, without blaming anyone or casting aspersions on anyone or credibility, but just trying to help us do better going forward. So that's one important thing. A second important thing is the Ombuds office in this new version is going to have way more access to information. And it won't just be the Ombuds, it'll be all the employees of the Ombuds office, including Deputy Ombuds Luvi May Omana. And it's not just going to be the most serious investigations, it's any investigations that the police are doing, whether it's a chain of command or a unit investigation. Excuse me here for a second. And so it provides that information and access to way more investigations. And not that the Ombuds office has the resources to do every investigation, because they don't, but they can pick and choose what they feel would be most important. And then the third area is what we call independent investigations. Again, that's something laid out in the charter that the Ombuds office is supposed to have. And we really worked on that to make it easier to do. Although if the Ombuds wants to do an independent investigation that he or she doesn't think the police department is doing, he or she has to give them written notice of what he would do or she would do differently, and give them a chance to correct it. If they aren't willing to for their reasons, then it comes to you as a commission with those same written requests. And if you approve it, then the Ombuds can do that. And that's true whether the department just refuses to investigate or starts an investigation and suspends it or doesn't complete it to the satisfaction of the Ombuds. The Ombuds can independently investigate once your commission gives the okay. And the way I view it is that for most investigations, the Ombuds is just there with the police department and can independently ask whatever questions he or she wants to. So they have independence during an investigation. And if for some reason the police investigation ends or never starts, your commission can authorize the ombuds to complete an independent investigation. And then the last thing was in the last tentative agreement in June, there were some provisions that some people interpreted as giving the authority to a labor arbitrator to remove the ombuds or an ombuds commission member if they were acting outside of their authority. And you obviously had some reservations on that. City Council did, and community members. But when we drilled down to it, what we found out was that in the past, if the police guild brought forward concerns that someone was acting outside their authority, the administration just said, well, that's not us. We can't do anything about it. And so the police guild didn't really have a remedy. So what we came up with was a process that if the police guild feels like the ombuds office is acting outside their authority or the commission, it can go to arbitration, but the arbitrator can only decide whether or not someone's acting outside of their authority. The arbitrator cannot remove or discipline any ombuds person or staff or commission member. That's still just under city policy, and essentially staff members are under your authority and commission members are under the authority of city council. So those were the highlights, from a very high elevation. And I feel in my mind, I've been, like I say, working on this really since 2007. The new provisions, in my opinion, meet the provisions of the charter, are a vast improvement, and really will, I think, undo a lot of the problems and frustrations that we've had. No agreement is perfect. We haven't gotten there on everything that everybody wants, but I feel like we've gotten over the hardest part. And then this contract, just so you know, expires at the end of this year, on December 31st. So we'll be negotiating a new contract with the police guild. I say we, the city. I'm not on the negotiating team, but and there may be further fine tuning on the OPO and things like that. But I don't think there'll be too much more on that. Or if there is, it won't be as challenging. So I said a lot of things. I'll take a breath and hopefully answer any questions or concerns that people have.
Okay, commissioners, any questions, concerns, clarifications from what we just heard?
The legislative laws that are passed won't be able to be overridden by the city council or anyone in the city, correct?
Do you mean the laws that are being considered at the state legislature right now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, those take precedence over any city policies or laws, which was a little bit of the challenge in our negotiations over the last few years, because there was an argument about what state laws meant what. And so we on our own, without changing the state laws, reached a pretty good agreement on it. But there are some laws pending right now you may be aware of that would impact. There's several bills out there from various legislators that might have an impact on it. None of them have passed yet, but once they do, they will take precedence over our local laws.
Okay, any further questions? Any other clarifying questions? And Council President Beggs, I was wondering, with this contract or a new contract negotiation beginning next December or next January, what if along the way we find some troublesome or cumbersome dynamics going on that we would like to convey or somehow be a part of the conversation next time around? Is there anything that you can suggest that we can do earlier rather than later?
Yeah.
Okay, what would you say about that?
So there's two things that I would, maybe three things that I'll mention it. So first thing, as you know, we did include the ombuds office and a couple of commissioners. We could only do 2 commissioners because of Open Public Meetings Act, but we did include them before the language was finalized this time. That was something I was quite insistent on and has never been done before. And as a result, we got lots of feedback. We changed several things to make it better. And we weren't able to make every change because every change had to be negotiated, but most of them were. And what I'm hearing you saying is, okay, well, that's good. That's an improvement. But yeah, let's do it on the front end before the hardcore negotiations start.
Mhm.
So that is totally fine. So to go to my second point is, yeah, you should just talk to, myself and other council members. I would say over the next few months, I'm imagining negotiations will start up probably over the summer because we'd like to get it done before December 31st.
Okay.
But feel free to, talk with us about it. And, I had a pretty good sense of the commission's views and the OPO's views because we've been doing this for about 4 or 5 years together. So I'm not saying I was perfect in my understanding, but I had a pretty good sense. But yeah, if there's anything new that comes up, especially given the new language, definitely do that. And then the other thing that came up in our meeting with you and some of the OPO is this idea of who does the ombuds office go to at the city when they need help on something? Like what happens if the guild's not staying within their lane? Or what if police command aren't following the law or their authority? And so we committed to sitting down with city legal and the administration and some council members and you all and trying to come up with a better structure for how to deal with that. Again, remember the old culture was, well, you guys are independent, so good luck. And so we, at least I will say me personally, made a commitment to say, no, that's not how it should be. So let's figure out some communication and a structure so that if you have a complaint yourself as a commissioner, that your authority is being impeded by anyone or the ombuds does, that we have a road forward and a structure to deal with that instead of just saying good luck. So we made a commitment to do that, and the mayor made a commitment to do that. And I'm going to take her at her word on that. So we have to figure that out, but we need to do that because I think that's the more likely is that bumps will come up. And the old way just didn't work. Nobody who felt they were being abused had any way forward, and they were just frustrated and trust went down and things like that. So we need to improve that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Logue?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Council President, it's my understanding that there will be a Spokane Municipal Code rewrite after this is finalized.
Yes.
Are we able to be a more robust part of that process?
Yes. So that's a much easier process for you to be part of. Labor negotiations, there are all sorts of confidentiality issues, and also traditionally, historically, the city usually speaks in one voice on labor, and the guild speaks with one voice because your office and commission are quasi-independent. It didn't fit well into the typical bilateral negotiations. But when we're developing new ordinance language, that doesn't apply. It doesn't, we can do it at public meetings. It's fine. So yeah. So any suggestions you have for ordinance language, you can bring those forward. It can't contradict the collective bargaining agreement, but it can. If it doesn't, the goal is to update the code so that it matches the collective bargaining agreement. But there are things in the code that have nothing to do with the collective bargaining agreement. So, yeah, so you shouldn't be shy. And frankly, if you want to err on the side that it might contradict the CBA, you go ahead and suggest it. The lawyers will just tell you no. But you should feel free to express yourself, whatever. And at a minimum, if it doesn't contradict and we can get a majority of council to approve it, then that will happen. If it does conflict, then we'll put that in the parking lot for future negotiations when we get to that.
A follow-up to that, sir. Will there be a committee formed by city council? Will there be a few council members working on that?
I don't know that there'll really be a working group on it. I think what will happen is we'll get a draft from city legal on how to sync up the code with this collective bargaining agreement. We'll release that to you and anyone else. And I would imagine, you know, I've been kind of the subject matter expert on this, so I will work on it. Probably Councilmember Kinnear would probably join me, but I don't know that it's going to be like hearings and committee meetings and stuff like that. But there'll be a process, and we'll make sure that you get a chance. If you're not getting what I'll call full satisfaction, you know, we'll figure out a way that you can express that at a public meeting, so that, you know, you can share your viewpoints with the general public and voters, so that everyone knows. So again, because it's not labor and all the confidentiality with that, it should be a pretty robust, open process. And I'm happy also to come back to OPOC meeting and, you know, discuss it with you all.
Commissioner Smith, you're on mute.
Oh, am I?
Yep. Now you're not. Now we can hear you.
Okay. Council President Beggs, thank you for being with us this evening. Your time is valuable, and I know you put in a full day's work already. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
You know, it was my great pleasure. And again, I want to extend my appreciation to the commission members, to the OPO office and the staff, and the mayor and the police guild. People really came together on this in a way that we haven't seen for a long time. And I'm hoping that, you know, not only is this agreement better than what we had, but it will be a foundation for a closer relationship and future agreements. So thanks for all the work that you all do, and special welcome to Lily and Luke, who's also new since the last time I was there. And thanks for all that you all do. Take care.
Okay. Bye. Okay. Moving right along to the monthly report, Mr. Loeb.
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to just go down some numbers, but I wanted to explain a few of the processes for our new commissioners as we go through the numbers. And if you have any complaints about, or not complaints, but concerns or questions about anything that I bring up in regards to this monthly report, just let me know, and we'll stop and explain what it is and what it means. So if you go down on the first page of our monthly report right now, we have a kind of a running total, a spreadsheet, which kind of has numbers going down. It says how many times we were involved in an action in the month of January, and then in February, and then we do a year running total. This format, the OPO office, we are looking to try to create a new one, and Luby May and Christina are really working hard on that, and we're going to try to have it less number driven and more content driven. We'll see how that comes out. It's not ready yet, so we're going to stick with the old way. So at the top, total community member or events and meetings that we went to, that number is 3 right now, but I need to change that number to 6 because I was involved in a leadership roundtable, as well as 2 peer-to-peer meetings with the Leadership 2021 group. And what those things are, both the Leadership Roundtable and the Leadership 2021 group, is I meet monthly and Leadership 2021 is actually every 2 weeks. That group is about 20 to 30 local community business leaders. And we're getting together, we're establishing relationships, we're talking about the things that drive us crazy, the things that work. Because sometimes it's lonely when you're trying to run stuff. And we all have a different perspective on how the year's been treating us. And we just bounce ideas off each other. That has really been a fruitful thing. Interestingly enough, we started it with the catchy phrase of Leadership 2020, you know, a good vision for the future. And that COVID hit and everything changed. And we realized that we never had experienced that type of world before. And it was very interesting to be involved in regular meetings with these folks as they talked about their challenges, which are completely different. You know, when you're trying to sell a product to a customer, or you're trying to create a product for a customer and everything's shut down, the stresses and the layoffs and all those things that they had to endure. It's a really deep, kind of satisfying group to be involved with. And I'm happy to be a part of that. The other one, the Leadership Roundtable is more of a smaller group. There's, I think, 7 or 8 of us that sit and we discuss different aspects of leadership to try to make a interconnected transformational change in our city. There's a lot of folks that have certain views on some things, and it's nice to come together with folks that have opposite views and see where you might be able to make that transformational change. So that's been a really interesting thing to be a part of. I will not spend that much time on every topic, I promise, but that's what those were. So after that, I think maybe for the first month since I've been here, we actually went through the month of January and did not have a complaint, which we sent over via Blue Team. That being said, I want to highlight the fact that we had 11 referrals. 10 of those were sent over to Internal Affairs. So for the new commissioners, what a referral is, it's still a concern that comes in from a community member. But when we evaluate that concern, we kind of decide whether or not it would fit a personnel complaint category. So we do that in our office before we ever send it over. And it could loosely be called a preliminary investigation to see if it's a valid complaint or not. But I would say 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, before we were doing this, every one of those would have been put into Blue Team, and they would have counted against the complaint number. So in our annual reports, you're going to see complaint numbers and you're going to see referrals, but they're all concerns from community members. But we actually sent 10 of the 11 referrals to IA as not complaints. And there's actually sometimes quite a bit of communication between our office and Internal Affairs in regards to some of these. And one of them, I'll just give you an example. One of them was on a speeding concern brought by a community member about police cars going through school zones at a rapid rate. We ended up sending that as a referral because it's very difficult to make a complaint on the department as a whole. When you go into the software, it's asking for a specific person or an officer that is complained upon. And if you can't figure out which officer it is, it's really, sometimes we can put unknown if it's a serious thing. But in this case, we thought there was no plate number, there weren't exact times, and schools, they're not really in session during that time. So we still have schools that are just coming into full-time access with teachers and students. So if the schools weren't in session, the speed limits wouldn't then apply. So some back and forth. It's still a good concern to send over to SPD to just a general reminder, hey, watch your speed. Because across the country, we have more officers hurt by speeding than in any other category. Or not speeding, but traffic accidents, I think is a better thing to say. So they're not necessarily doing anything wrong, but that car can be problematic from time to time. So that's a good example of a referral. Now, if they said that I saw this car number at 10:15 screaming down my road and we could specifically tie that to who was on at what time, that's different. Then we can have internal affairs look at that a little closer and get some further information in regards to who that may have been and what the reasons were for that. Any questions on referrals? So we did have an external referral. So we classify our referrals in two ways. Internal, those are sent to either the police department, but we also count internal referrals as things that we would send to other parts of the city government. But an external referral goes to an outside agency. And in January, we had a case where a complaint was made against an officer from the Port Orchard Police Department. But we wouldn't handle that. We don't have software, we don't have connections. But somehow they got it to us. We will still take that time and effort to make sure that that concern gets to the appropriate place. And so we sent that over to the Port Orchard Police Department. For certifications, certifications are the case review process. So after an investigation is completed by Internal Affairs, they will send it to me for a certification. And all I'm looking for in order to certify a case is whether I believe it was conducted in a timely, thorough, or an objective fashion. If any of those things do not apply, I have the right to say, no, I won't certify it and send it back. Prior to that certification process, or even really during the certification process, I think we talked about it last month, I have a robust conversation with Lieutenant Coles, the new IA lieutenant. I guess he's not so new anymore. It's been around a couple of months. And we'll discuss if I think there's a hole in an investigation, or I think it's missing, let's say, just for ease, a police report or an interview wasn't attached. I'm looking for the package of all the information that needs to be inside of that complaint for certification. If it's missing any of that, I'll get on the phone and I'll call him and we will discuss what the information needed is, and then he'll make sure it gets sent over. If it's significant, if it's going to require another interview or some significant effort by the investigator, I'll generally send those back. And in those cases, we keep track of how many times we send a case back. But if it's just missing the recording of an interview I know already took place, Lieutenant Coles will get that attached to the case file, and I can continue with the certification process without sending it back. So we've had a really good working relationship in regards to that, and we certified 7 cases in the month of January with no returns. That process may change with some of the contract language. Once that comes out, we can discuss that in greater detail next month. There was a critical incident in January. I briefed it at the last OPOC meeting. If you recall, that happened on January 5th at Queen and Nash. And that was a previous investigation that was going on in regards to a homicide investigation. It was the suspect in a homicide investigation. And on January 5th, the officers that were eventually involved in this officer-involved shooting conducted a traffic stop on the vehicle at Queen and Nash in North Spokane. At some point, the individual came out of the vehicle and started opening fire at the officers who had pulled him over. So the officers returned fire. That individual died on scene, and the investigating agency for that incident will be the Spokane County Sheriff's Office as part of the SEER protocol. For OPO interview or contacts, we had 106 last month, and we had 2 interviews with community members. Again, we didn't file any actual complaints in Blue Team, but we sent 11 referrals. For training, keep track of training a little bit. There is a section in the SMC wanting us to continue our professional education. Mostly in January, I spent time, and I know Luby May did as well. We're still going through the Daigle Use of Force Summit seminars. I think I have a few more days to get those done, and I'm almost finished. There's 4 tracks in the Daigle Use of Force seminar, and I will have completed at least 3 of those tracks completely by the end of February. The 4th one is corrections, and we're not involved in corrections in any way, but I will still try to review some of those if I have time. The other thing that we did for training in January was we attended a webinar put on by NACOL, and that was on analyzing and reporting use of force statistics. Outside of that, we keep track every time we have significant contacts with internal affairs. Mostly that's going to be contacts between me and the IA lieutenant and the IA investigators. So in January, we had 20 significant contacts with them, and then we had 9 significant contacts or meetings with other members of SPD staff. Meetings with commissioners in January, I almost couldn't believe it when I looked at all those numbers on that on the last page of the monthly report. We actually had 32 meetings with commissioners in January. So it's a now we got one more. We welcome the interaction. We really like to be part of and know what you're thinking, but we also want you to know what we're going through in the OPO as well. So there's never any surprises. We had 11 contacts with City Council, and part of that was towards the end of January, we were called into that session with them in regards to the contract. For the next steps, we're talking about the annual report, but I think that's another, we're going to talk about the annual reports in a few moments. So other significant focus of that we did in January. So I've been working hard with NACOL, and NACOL, if you're not familiar with it, is the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement. And they're kind of the biggest national organization we have in regards to specifically focusing on oversight of law enforcement. I am on the strategic planning committee for them, and we're discussing ways to have a national impact in regards to police reform on that committee. And I'm also on the member development and support committee. It turns out that this job chews up a lot of people, and I'm finishing almost my 6th year, if you count the interim time, and have been around a lot longer than a lot of folks in oversight. So being part of that and being able to talk and mentor folks through some of their issues that they've been going through has really been a rewarding thing. It also lets you know that you're not alone in the pushback that you're enduring. It's happening around the country. So specifically, I've been in contact monthly with King County and their oversight entity over there. And then I just volunteered to be part of a peer-to-peer program in which I will develop a more significant relationship with the Boise Oversight Office. The other program I'm working on with NACOL is the Use of Force Working Group. And I think my subject that I was assigned to work on was in regards to duty to intervene. And that's in regards to if an officer becomes or thinks that excessive force may be being utilized, that they should intervene and stop that. It's been really interesting to pull up existing police policies from around the country and see all the varying language in regards to that. It's something that didn't used to be in police policies, but it is everywhere right now. And it is a significant part of what we're going to recommend nationally. Finally, we put a lot of effort into prepping for our annual report, and part of that was going over the Chief Meidel's responses to our recommendations, which we put out in the closing report last year. We put out 28 recommendations, and he sent us an email version of those. Louis May and I reviewed them, and we met at the end of January. We had a I think a 2-hour meeting going over his responses and making sure he understood our recommendations and making sure that we understood his responses. Chief Meidel has decided to adjust some of his responses, and we will get those put into the annual report as we send it out to you. If the version we send out in the near future doesn't have those in them, I will make sure it is only because we don't have his responses. So we will get them to you as soon as we have them, but I don't want to stop that portion of your review in regards to the annual report. Outside of that, are there any questions?
Yeah, obviously the contacts you were making, were they virtual or were you actually attending the sessions with them in terms of NACOL and the training and the meetings with the officers that you spelled out here? Were you meeting with them or was it virtual?
So all of the meetings outside of Spokane are virtual. We're using Zoom and WebEx, and Microsoft has a platform you can use. But some of the business leader meetings, we've been meeting in person. Socially distanced, big rooms, that kind of thing.
So, Mr. Logue, I am intrigued by the peer-to-peer plan with Boise. Can you remind us in a nutshell what Boise is doing that's maybe different from what we're doing and what kind of success they're getting with their oversight?
I can't yet, but I will be next month. I'll be able to next month. We haven't had our first face-to-face, and we'll be doing that over Zoom. But
Okay.
The significance of Boise to us is that Spokane looked at Boise when they chose to create an ombudsman office for the city of Spokane. So they had an existing ombudsman office. The person there at the time's name was Pierce Murphy.
Yeah.
And he was actually part of some discussions with the commission right at the beginning of my tenure here. So our office is closely modeled after them.
Okay. Yeah, I thought in the past we had conversations about Boise, and you brought up the name Piers Murphy. Is that what you said? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Commissioners, and anyone else have anything you want to add or ask before we move on to the next agenda item, which is so commission business number 1 is the OPMA overview. And new commissioners and those of us who have been doing this for a couple of years, we're required to receive training, and that training will not happen tonight. But I think Mr. Bingaman is going to maybe share 3 or 4 things that are really important for us to remember as we conduct business on the commission. And then I think we'll decide on a maybe a special meeting date where we get a more thorough training. Does that sound right, Mr. Bingaman, from your perspective?
Yeah, that works. I didn't know I only had 3 or 4 points, so I have a somewhat of a brief overview, so I can go through that right now. That works.
And just so that we're clear, I send out a link for the new commissioners to take their OPMA training. They have to take it within 90 days. Luke has finished his and Lily just got hers. So they're on track.
Three of us who I know we're required to take a training or redo the training. Is that right? Every few years?
Every 4.
Every 4. And do we have documentation on what our status is on that? Not that I need it right now, but later down the road, are we up for that?
Yes, you guys will be up for that this year.
Okay. Okay.
I know you and Jenny will, and then, yes.
Okay. Okay, so did I hear you say, Mr. Bingman, that you're going to just take a few minutes to do, or is that really necessary at this point if Commissioner Jasmine's already finished his? I didn't know he had already conducted his, and Lily is close to getting that done. Is it necessary then for us to go over do's and don'ts, or wait?
So the training that they're doing will most definitely be more detailed than what I've prepared. I have seen, I think, the training that they're taking. I can give a couple of pointers, though, if you want to do that, some practical pointers. I don't know if all of like the practical pointers are actually in their training.
Oh, mm-hmm.
So do you want to kind of go over a few of those? It's up to you guys.
Yeah.
If you prepare some, I say do it.
Okay. Well, so everything that I have in here, the majority of it will likely be in that training that you guys are going to take online. But I do have a few things I can point out, some practice points, so to speak. Do you want to go through that?
Yes, if that's okay with other commissioners, yeah. Okay, we're getting thumbs up.
Okay, so just a few things to keep in mind. One of which is some people call it's a chain quorum, and what that means is, say Commissioner A talks to Commissioner B, talks to Commissioner C, and then talks to Commissioner D. Even though you don't have a quorum all at one point in time, the fact that there's a series of communications that go on, that actually can be an OPMA violation. So that's one thing to kind of look out for, a practice point right there. Another one is when it comes to emails. You don't have to be in person to actually have an OPMA violation. It can happen via email, it can happen via text message. So, you know, if Christina sends out an email to multiple council members, if she's going to send it out to, say, a quorum, it really should be where she sends it out BCC'd to everybody. Or if you guys ever say send an email to a council member, most definitely don't send it to a quorum. But say if Christina sends an email to all of the commissioners with the packets, and the best practice in that case, like I said, is for her to BCC. If she doesn't BCC and say everyone is openly on the email, if one commissioner hits reply all and starts giving out comments, that goes to the other commissioners, and now you have an OPMA violation technically. So little practice pointer right there. Just keep in mind, you know, it doesn't have to be in person. It can be via email. It can be a chain quorum. It can be a text message. Just some things to keep in mind there. Let me see. Those are some of the big practice pointers. The rest of what I have is really kind of the basics of what you're going to find in your training. Are there any questions?
So yeah, Commissioner Rose?
David, the one about sending an email to all city council members. So I can't send an email to everyone and talk about my opinion on something like with Christina's position when it was part-time.
Oh, so you can send an email to multiple city council members.
Oh, okay.
If one of them hits a reply all regarding the content, now they've committed an OPMA violation.
Got it.
If you were to send an email to multiple commissioners on the OPOC and then one of them hits reply all, now we have an OPMA violation potentially from the OPOC.
Can I send an email individually to each commissioner? That's exactly the same?
So you start to almost get into a chain quorum.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, that would be the concern, because if you send an email to Commissioner A, and Commissioner A responds, and then you go to Commissioner B, okay, well, this is what Commissioner A and I talked about, and then you kind of continue on. At whatever point you hit a quorum, you're probably in an OPMA violation at that point.
What if I just did it individually all at once without responding back, like sharing of information? Well, that's okay. When we have our meeting, we could figure that out.
Yeah, I would, as a practice pointer, if it's something that you want to get spread out to multiple commissioners, maybe have like Christina send it out.
Right,
And
right.
that
Yeah.
way there's no issue with commissioners communicating and possibly an OPMA violation.
Unless it was about Christina.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
then I'd have our OPO do it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll be sure to send that out.
Make sure to BCC. Are any other questions?
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate the pointers, and it allowed us to clarify some questions that some of us have. So scheduling for that can be done through email, right? Scheduling, let me think about this for a second. So the training that I need and that Jenny needs will be done through a link, is that right?
Yeah, I think Christina will have that link for you.
Okay, so that answers my question. I'll be waiting for a link at the appropriate time for me to update my 4-year OPMA training.
And if it's the link that I'm thinking of that Christina has, I think at the end there's a part where you can print out a certificate. Is that, yeah, she's nodding.
Okay.
So it's always a good idea to print out that certificate or keep it on file somewhere so that there is a record.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I have them filed on the H drive for
Okay.
everybody.
Do you have mine, Christina? Oh, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I think we can move on from this topic. And we're on to item number 2, OPOC annual report. So Christina, you sent out to us, I believe, a copy of the OPOC annual report. And so each commissioner has just.
No, I just sent it to Jenny because she's been writing her information and the things that where it needs to go. So it
Okay.
hasn't gone out to all the commissioners yet.
Oh,
So I
okay.
sent it to you and Jenny for review before we
Got it.
start.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so down the road in the next few days, will all commissioners have both documents, the OPO and the OPOC annual reports?
The
Or not?
OPOC should be about ready.
Okay.
But
I'm
I
trying
will
to,
let,
I'm trying to remember if commissioners also look at the OPO before it goes into publishing. Okay, so commissioners, especially the newer ones, so you'll be getting a draft copy of the OPO and the OPOC annual reports. They're separate documents, and we'll be asking you just to look through it. And I realize you don't have the history, the context of what went on for the entire year, especially you, Luke, because you weren't with us for the entire year. But just go ahead and look through it, and it'll be probably some good documents to look at and get a better understanding of what occurred during that time. And we should, when you send those out, you'll have commissioners will have about a week to look at those documents.
If I may, sir,
Pardon me?
if I may,
Yeah.
we will try to get those documents out. We won't try. We will get those documents out to each commissioner next week.
Okay.
No matter what the status is. So if we haven't received some information from SPD yet,
Okay.
it'll simply say NA, or we don't have it yet.
Okay.
But I expect to get those before the March meeting. We want to get them published, so approved by the commission in the March meeting. So I would say, especially if we push back the March meeting a week, several weeks, look at them closely. If you have questions, anything you catch helps us. And really, for the new commissioners, anything that you don't understand, ask that question, because we can make that portion better. Because the document should be self-explanatory for any public member that would pick it up. So anything you don't understand, please give a robust communication on that. But if you could give us, maybe by 2 weeks, if you could give us any feedback, if we need to make any edits, so that we can get a final completed edited document to you at least 1 week before the next meeting.
Okay.
Commissioner Jasmine has a question.
Yeah, so does President Begg's report out affect this report at all, or is there no correlation? Wasn't there something about opinions shared, or is that totally separate?
That's a totally separate thing. I think he was talking about closing reports. This is our annual report.
Okay.
So it's basically, it goes over what the OPO has done for the past year.
Commissioner Rose, go ahead.
We do, like last year, Bart and I went in front of the city council members, and we each presented our report to them. So the annual report. So the city council does get to see our annual report. We kind of just do a little snippet of each of our reports, so.
And then just substantively, the update that I have. So I've been working on the report since the beginning of the year. And the substance of the report is mostly statistical analysis based. So I go through every single complaint that was filed last year, and I look at it through community generated versus internal. And I look at every single allegation, and then I come up with different charts to kind of show the reader like what happens to the different complaints, the kinds of reviews they get, the outcomes, like what city council districts the complaints are coming from. So it's very complaint data driven, the content of the annual report. We have a recommendation section that just kind of summarizes every single recommendation we made the previous year. And then there's a letter in the front from the ombudsman kind of talking about the theme of what happened in the previous year. So it's not like case specific, whereas I think the closing report that Council President Beggs was talking about is related to a specific case. And then just content wise, we have everything ready. I will follow up with the chief on the one portion that we are waiting on, but otherwise all the different parts are ready to go pretty much.
Okie dokie. Any last questions, comments, clarifications on the annual reports? Okay, moving along to item number 3, Deputy Police Ombudsman. This is an ongoing situation that is needing to be rectified, and we are, I say we, the OPO and the OPOC, is trying to get things to move in regards to Luvime Omana, who is our deputy ombudsperson. And this reclassification to her title occurred back in 2019. Is that correct, Luvime? Yeah. And but with that title change, there should be other benefits that come with that title change. A different pay grade, and at the very least. And so there's a lot to be reckoned with, and we're well over a year in getting this taken care of. The former chair, Chair Rose, dealt with this in 2019 by communicating with HR and I think Mr. Ormsby in the city legal, and really just kind of came out. Not kind of, it did. It ended in a very flat, it's dead in the water basically. So in order to get this rolling once and for all, I am interested in sending another letter to HR with the request that something get done now. We can't wait any longer. And we have a new HR director from we had a year ago when Commissioner Rose dealt with this. So I guess what I'm trying to say right tonight is I would like to get approval to send an updated letter to HR requesting that this situation be dealt with. Commissioner Rose?
Commissioner Smith, I was going to maybe say wait on that letter until we see if the language is changed in the tentative agreement. And maybe Mr. Logue knows something about that.
Mr. Logue?
So the tentative agreement is looking forward. The letter is in regards to past action in 2019 that Human Resources owes us a response on.
Oh, say that again.
The tentative agreement that the Guild is coming to the city with, it will be from the moment it's signed moving forward. And this action is something that occurred well over a year ago, far outside of the boundaries for anybody to grieve or complain from the city or the Guild.
So I was thinking that if it does get into the agreement, then that would be what Commissioner Smith could use to say, this is the language And this happened back in 2009. I just thought it would give a little bit more push, but I'm open to do a letter right now if you wish. Because I just assumed it would be retroactive with regards to the letter or not sending a letter, but I like the idea of a letter, so yeah.
I not being an HR expert, I'm in agreement that we got to get 2019 taken care of. And I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Rose, is future language of the tentative agreement that.
Well, no, I wasn't thinking on the future language. I was just thinking now it's official because it's in the police guild tentative agreement or their collective bargaining agreement. So using that in your letter saying, listen, this is what her position is. We voted on it back in, I don't remember what month, November 2019. She needs to get paid starting that month or whatever, the pay scale was or is. So that, but I'm open either way, of course.
Yeah. So, Mr. Logue.
So I had a personal sit down with the Human Resources Director in regards to this. I'm hesitant to point to any agreement with the Guild on an action that the Guild had no responsibility taking. So that was an independent decision by the OPOC. The OPOC has that authority. We shouldn't have to preface that by getting somebody else's approval.
No, Mr. Logue, that's not my point. My point is she has a different name she's been called for the last 2 to 3 years. Now, this is her position, Deputy Ombudsman. So it wasn't the police guild giving permission for us to do that. We've been using that name for 2 years now. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So a letter can be written looking back historically, but also looking at what the Guild has basically cemented in the use and the acceptance of that title, which gives more oomph to the whole idea that the city needs to get their act together. That was put in my own words, Commissioner Rose. Is that what you're getting at basically?
Well, yeah, but I agree, but I think we don't want to give them, I just want it to be official because up till now, HR has ignored it for 2 years. That's what's frustrating. They've completely ignored it. Mm-hmm. Any other place, you would not ignore an official position on the pay scale, but they've just kind of went, no. So it's just really frustrating. It's just a tiny little piece of that letter, Commissioner Smith. Mm-hmm. Yep. We don't want to, I don't know. The more we can.
I'm certainly willing to collaborate with you and make this right. Commissioner Wilburn, go ahead.
Yeah, is that a Guild issue or is that a HR concern? Because I'm concerned how we pull the Guild in. I would like for them to be less involved in commission activities as possible. So I'm wondering, is that an HR concern where we talking about her job description and job titles and job changes? Is that a Guild?
Great question, Commissioner Wilburn, and I for one thought it was strictly HR, and that's where my brain was going on this. And so I'm trying to wrap my head around what the Guild has apparently ushered in or allowed. I get what you're saying, Commissioner Wilburn. So I thought it was 100% HR. That was my thought.
And I think it is, sir. And the reason I say that is I have not received any copy of any grievance or anything from the Guild or the city opposing the OPOC's decision. Now, had we received that in a timely fashion, okay, then we have a little bit more work to do in regards to that, and we would have to reference that. But because nothing was filed, it's solely HR.
But we've had 2 years and they've done nothing. HR has done nothing for 2 years. So I don't know what the answer is, but for 2 years, we've said, hey, Ms. Amana's position is deputy ombudsman, and nothing has happened.
Yeah.
You
So we
know,
have a
it's frustrating.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And we have a different HR director. Whether that makes a difference. So a letter to her and a face-to-face is another a thing that I'm trying to get done, matching her calendar with mine. So I will. Do I need a motion for a letter to be written? Is that correct? Okay. So, Commissioner Wilburn, go ahead.
Yes, point of order. Before we do a letter to the HR or the Guild, shouldn't we contact the city council president? And I think it would add more leverage to what we're trying to do in terms of her job change description if it came from council president as opposed to,
Okay, Commissioner Rose.
Commissioner Wilburn, we brought that up with President Banks at least 3 or 4 times, and he, in my words, these are my words, he's basically has said just talk to HR. So we're not really getting anything that way. I'm just trying to bring some sort of normalcy to deputy ombudsman. So.
Yeah, and that was a portion of the SMC I was discussing in regards to council president. You know, when we're rewriting this SMC, there are some safeguards, some specific procedures that the city should follow when the OPOC sends over. And that needs to be in the ordinance.
Good point.
That we'll find that HR will be a little bit more receptive. In my meeting with her, she understands it a little bit more, but she needs to know that it's just not me pushing it, that it's OPOC directive.
Yeah.
And also, our deputy on Buds has other potential course of action. I don't know what that would be, but you know what? If they're going to continue not to listen, then we'll find something that will make them listen. I mean, I don't want to come heavy-handed, just from my own opinion coming out. But this cannot be ignored. It's a labor issue. And so somebody needs to wake up and realize that we're not sleeping on this city. You worked on it in 2019. It's already 2021. So I think Ms. Omana is actually being rather generous in waiting this long. But she could do something totally different. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but Ms. Omana, did your hand go up for a second there? No, okay. I thought I was, sorry about that. Okay, I thought I saw your hand go up. Okay.
I would like to make a motion, Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I would like to make a motion that you write a letter to HR addressing our concerns about her title. And I'm very willing to have you speak for myself as a commissioner. So, and then maybe CC City Council and on that would be good.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay,
I second.
Okay, we have a second that came from Commissioner Jasmine. And therefore, we have a motion out there. All those who approve of me sending a letter to HR with a CC to City Council addressing the ongoing problem with the deputy ombuds title and what needs to be done to honor that title that has not been done.
Question.
Commissioner Wilburn, yes, sir.
Yeah, wouldn't it be even more valid if each of the council members, each of the commissioners signed it?
That shouldn't. The only problem I see with that is physically getting it to you, or time management would be my only hesitation. I think if this were normal times,
I
I
see.
would say absolutely, but it would mean getting it out to all of you, or all of you coming down to a place to sign it. But I would agree with you that that normally we would do that.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
could say in the letter on behalf of the, OPOC, on behalf of my fellow commissioners.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if the motion is voted
Yeah.
unanimously, you could put that in the start of your letter.
Commissioner Wilburn, how do you feel about that take on that?
How what now?
How do you feel about that alternative?
I like it.
Okay. Yeah, I again would want all of our signatures to be on there.
Yeah.
But in these strange times, I want to get this out as quickly as possible. I'm going to rephrase the motion. We have a motion for the chair to write a letter to HR on behalf of all commissioners that will be CC'd to City Council, giving an update on what has not happened and what needs to happen for our current deputy ombuds.
Sounds good.
Okay, and so I need a second on that.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Wilburn. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, I don't hear any abstentions. So let it be recorded that it was unanimous from all commissioners that this letter be sent to HR. Okay, thank you for a great discussion on that topic. And that leads us up to number 4, Commissioner Speak Out. This actually might be, well, let me explain Commissioner Speak Out for new commissioners. It's an opportunity for each of the commissioners to speak out about something that is on his or her mind, or something that the other commissioners may find interesting, or be able to ponder. I might take the liberty to suggest that perhaps this could be a speak out time that we all reflect on. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we sitting in the seat as a commissioner? We haven't done that in a while, and it might be beneficial to hear from each of us as to why we're doing what we're doing. Why are we interested in the work of the OPO and the OPOC? So with that said, it's again just a suggestion. I will start by indicating to all of you my, I came on this commission back, I believe it was in 2015, after a lot of upheaval and a lot of chaos from a commission that is now in the history books, and be worth reading about someday if you've got any time, or maybe you already know what happened back in the day. But anyway, I do recall talking to Mayor Condon when he asked me why I wanted this position. I find myself internally always going back to the citizens of our city, the citizens of Spokane, who in 2013 voted overwhelmingly to have oversight, police oversight. And yes, the code was confusing and not clear. And in my mind, as a commissioner, it doesn't represent what the voters wanted back in 2013. And so in the work that I do in this commission or on this commission, I always think back to the collective citizens of our city who really, I think to this day, still want oversight that looks like oversight, that is not cluttered with guild interference or obstruction. And I think in the past year, in 2020, we saw a passion, we saw people speaking out loud about what they think oversight should be. And so my energy goes for the people, and what can I do as a single commissioner to help get oversight that is recognizable, that moves, and the process is smooth. It will never be perfectly smooth, but we're slowly getting there. And that is a Commissioner Smith's speak out for the moment. Okay. And anyone who wants to chime in, please do. Commissioner Rose.
Well, I too, like Commissioner Smith, I started, I think my very first meeting was September 2015. I think you were 1 month ahead of me. And I had seen the sham, I'm just going to call it a sham, of the previous spring in 2015 and how horrible that was. And the day I made my decision to try to be on the commission was actually, there was a little blurb in the newspaper that Condon had written up about doing something for your community, and now was the time to step forward. And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to get picked. But I'm going to go ahead and fill out all the paperwork and see what happens. And so I did get chosen, which I felt a very big honor and still do to this day. And this last week, I kind of was energized because I was asked. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history of what's gone on in the past week that I think you should know. So I was asked to speak in front of the Senate Labor, Commerce, and Tribal Affairs Committee in Olympia on Senate Bill 5436, which is an Andy Billig bill. And there's quite a few bills on police oversight, but this particular bill just had two things in it. So I thought it was very doable. The first thing was that the police guild or police union could not choose who the ombudsman is. And the second thing was that the ombudsman was free to write a closing report. Now, I am all for collective bargaining. As you guys probably know, I did it for many, many years. I've also know how these bills go through. I was a little rusty. But I actually it was virtual, but I actually got to speak to this particular bill a week ago Tuesday. I don't remember, it was last week. And I got to speak on it. Now, here was the interesting part. You only have like 2 minutes, and I, timed it, so I was right around 2 minutes. After I was finished, one of the senators asked me how we pick our ombudsman. So off the top of my head, I'm like, okay, I think I had it 90% right. And later on, I sent an email to all of the members of that particular committee and explained exactly how our ombudsman was chosen. But I think what really got me was when one of the senators said, well, why would any language about police oversight be in a collective bargaining agreement? And it was like, yeah, that was a big aha, because that was the same thing I thought way back in 2015. If we truly want to be 100% transparent and truly be 100% independent, that isn't working for us. And trust me, I am all for collective bargaining agreements. So what happened though then yesterday, I didn't know what happened. So I went online today and I looked, and lo and behold, A lot of these bills get into a committee and then they just die the very first time. Several, as you guys know, several bills that people come up with. This actually got moved out of committee yesterday. I said today, I was wrong. It actually got moved out of committee today and now is going to the Rules Committee for a second reading, which is pretty exciting. However, as with any bill, there's a lot of substitutes, and they took out the last 3 paragraphs of this bill, which would have made it retroactive. So that was kind of a bummer, but it wasn't going to go unless they did that. Unless Senator Billy took those last 3 paragraphs, it was not going to move forward. And unfortunately, that's what happens with bills, moving and changing all the time. But anyway, I wanted to present that to you guys. Keep your eyes on Senate Bill 5436, and we'll see what happens with that. So, and I welcome everybody, and I will stop talking.
Thank you, Commissioner Rose. Good to know about the retroactive being pulled out of it. Any other commissioners?
Yes, I wanted to be a commissioner, and I talked with the mayor about it before he appointed me, because I'm aware that, you know, it's easy to bring bad actors on board, you know, as long as they fit the criteria as far as your hiring practices. But the one thing that you cannot see is their hidden agendas once they become an officer. They pass all of the tests and everything, but there is that ulterior motive that, you know, you almost can't see. And that's why you need civilian oversight, so that officers who misbehave, you know, out here, that we see, that the employers or the guild do not see, or they try to protect or hide, or whatever you want to call it. We can provide that oversight. And that's why I felt that you needed civilian oversight. And I thought that, you know, by having contact with the community and people who you can sit down and talk with, who come in contact with law enforcement officers, can share with you, you know, their interaction with law enforcement. And you in turn can bring it up, or, you know, provide that oversight, because we have to admit that you know, there's a blue code. You know, even good officers are not going to tell on the other officers that misbehave. You know, that's just they tell us, you see something, say something, but they'll see something and won't say anything. You know, and that's where civilians come in at. But if you have no civilian oversight, then the guild is going to always protect them. And that's why I'm concerned about the guild being involved in what we do, because I know what the guild's job is, or what they will do, you know, and it's hard to have a bad officer weeded out of the bunch if you're using the guild to do it. You know, and so civilian oversight to me means that we need to check that. You know, that's our job. You know, and not to go through an agency that's going to protect the very thing that we're trying to weed out. You know, and that's why I felt I could provide, you know, some oversight. You know, and hopefully, you know, we can do that.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Wilburn. Appreciate your thoughts. And any other commissioners?
Well, I'll go next, and it's pretty much summed in this book here that I've been reading, and there's 2 passages that really speak to me. So the first one is how accountability-related reforms can transform the police subculture. And just listen to this. All police experts recognize that the traditional police subculture is a powerful factor in policing. As in other occupations, the police officer subculture involves the informal norms and behaviors that shape employees' day-to-day work. The norms of the police subculture can be defined in plain language as follows. First, they involve what officers in a particular department know they must do to stay out of trouble and avoid the risk of discipline. Second, they involve what officers generally know they can get away with without risking internal investigation and possible discipline or termination. In short, what officers know they can get away with. So that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to join this group, because we know if there is no oversight, then those norms, there's nothing to hold accountability to those norms. And I mean, we could look at statistic after statistic to know what happens in regards to that. The second passage is around public complaints and police accountability. So for me specifically, I've had a lot of issues here in Spokane, as most of you have known over the past 15 years that I've been here. And anytime, you know, the people I'm around as well, we don't feel it sucks when you're a taxpayer paying for protection and you feel powerless every single day, and the people who you're supposed to call for protection if an incident happens, you have no faith and you're like, no. And that is the common, at least where I'm at in Chief Gary, in Hilliard area, that is the common ideology is I'm going to solve this on my own, and I'm not going to involve the police. And when I do file a complaint, nothing happens. And so I hope that we can continue to change that. But that is the common perception that's at least in my region. But I'll finish off with reading this. Police complaints against the police for anything from simple rudeness to use of excessive force are an important element of accountability. An effective system for investigating civilian complaints of misconduct is a critical element of police department's accountability system. An open and transparent complaint process gives people an opportunity to express their grievances about an experience with a police officer, and that helps build trust and confidence in the department. So that's what I got. I'm gonna send this book back though. This has been pretty good.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate hearing that. Okay, thank you.
And Lily, that's coming your way next.
Thank you. The reason I wanted to be part of this commission, I second what Commissioner Jasmine mentioned about the trust. I wanted representation of our Latino community, Hispanic community here in Spokane. There are a lot of us that don't report a crime or domestic abuse due to language barrier, and also if some of our community members are undocumented, they are afraid that they are going to be separated from their families. I want to build a bridge. I want to, I guess, build that trust between our Latino community and the SPD. I myself have had my encounters and experiences being a Planned Parenthood employee and not feeling protected, being again an employee, and it's just unbelievable. So I want accountability, I want representation, and I want my community to know that it's okay to report a crime. It's okay to hopefully count on protection from the police when we need them. So yeah, that's one of my reasons.
Wow, commissioners, thank you. A lot to think about, a lot to ponder, and yeah, we got a lot of work ahead of us, and very inspirational to hear from others and what your passions are. Thank you for speaking from your hearts, and really appreciate that a great deal. Okay, with that, we'll go to something a little more benign, and that is a March meeting date change. So I think we were originally going to meet, I'm not sure what the date was, March 16th, was it original? I don't recall. Oh, okay, that was a wild guess and I was right. Okay, so we want to go a week later, is that right? For what reason? I have no, oh, go ahead, Commissioner Rose.
Well, I had just brought it up last week that I will not be here on that date. And if possible, to move it a week forward. But trust me, if you have a quorum and people want to meet on the 16th, that is perfectly okay. The other thing that we thought about, it would give us a little bit more time with the annual report. But it's, you know, you'll have a quorum, you know, on the 16th, I'm sure. So I don't need to be here. It isn't, you know, please, I don't want it all about me. So
I will chime in. I don't care either way. I will be here either Tuesday, and I'm happy to go with the 23rd. How about your other calendars out there, other commissioners? Commissioner Jasmine, you're fine with that? Okay, Commissioner Navarrete, and Commissioner Wilbur.
I'm good.
So how about that? So I think I need to make a motion for that, and I would entertain a, I'll make a motion for changing our March meeting date from March 16th to March 23rd. Do we have a second?
I so move. Are you making the motion?
I guess I just did, didn't I? I need somebody else to do that. Mr. Bingaman?
So technically, I think you would do two motions. The first would be to cancel the regular council meeting for the 16th. Then the second one would be to set a special council meeting for the 23rd.
Gotcha. Okay. So with that said, I would entertain a motion to not meet on March 16th.
I move that the meeting be moved from March 16th.
I second.
Okay. All those in favor of moving the March 16th OPLC meeting to a different date, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay. Commissioner Jasmine?
I thought we were supposed to make two, right?
Yeah, so I'm heading for that next one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the first motion should be cancel the 16th. Just that's the
Yes.
first motion, and then the second one is have it on 23rd.
So I did not use the word cancel in the motion. I just said to move it. Do I need to redo that motion then?
Maybe just start over for clarity.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to cancel the March 16th, 2021 OPLC meeting.
So move.
Okay. Although,
Second.
okay. All those in favor of canceling the March 16th, 2021 OPLC meeting indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you. Therefore, I would entertain a motion to have our OPLC monthly meeting on March 23rd.
So moved.
Thank you.
I second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of adopting March 23rd for our next OPOC meeting indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, is so moved. We'll be meeting on March 23rd, and that would be a special meeting. Is that correct? Okay. All righty. So I will see you at our special meeting on Tuesday, March 23rd. Any last things that we need to talk about? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Great to see all of you. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
What's up, Luke?